Alright, what's up everybody? So I've got a quick one that's been requested by a subscriber. It's a foundational video on the specifics of script writing for comics. And if anyone wants to know more details about my writing methods, let me know in the comments. Or if you want to know what to do once you have a killer script, be it finding an artist or a publisher, subscribe and watch all my other videos that I've already done or ones that are coming out in the future, because this is pretty much what I do, at least on YouTube. So, and for anyone that's new here and doesn't know who I am, I'm Lord Max Hoven. I'm a comic book writer and film producer. I'm most known for co-writing Liquid Kill, which is running monthly right now in comic shops everywhere with Whatnot Publishing, and I also co-wrote It Eats What Feeds It, the gothic romance graphic novel which came out in 2021 with Scout Comics. Check those out along with my Hindi feature film Half Pace, which is live on Tubi TV, Amazon Prime, Diverse Cinema, and more. The links to all my stuff, including those things and more, is at hovencrow.com, and the link is in the description. So, let's get into it. The basics of how to write a comic book script professionally the easy way. Number 1. Download Dark Horse's guidelines for formatting. So for those of you who don't know, Dark Horse Comics is a publisher of comic books that are known for a lot of hit comics, including Hellboy and countless others, even Frank Miller from the past. And they are still a popular, if not one of the most popular comic book publishers today. And if you go to their website and you click on the submissions page, they still, at least as of 2023, have a form that you can download, and it's titled The Script Guide and Specifications. And it gives a detailed description of how to format comic book scripts and all the information that you're required to have when submitting a script professionally. Because this is what they send to all of their comic book writers that they pay page rates to, and how they expect you to send them your scripts. And it's not just them. This is the basically why I'm telling you here is it's kind of the standard for what professional comic scripts are supposed to look like. So once you do that, the second step is you're going to want to download a bunch of comic book scripts. And there's a website that has tons of them that you can download for free. And that website is comicsexperience.com. No spaces. If you just look up Comics Experience on Google, it's probably the first thing that pops up. They have scripts from everybody from some of the biggest names out there, like Neil Gaiman scripts are on there. I know they have the script for 30 Days of Night by Steve Niles, which was a hit comic illustrated by Ben Templesmith quite a few years back, and it was turned into a hit movie. So they also have independent comic scripts like Grief by Frank Gogol, which was published by Source Point Press a few years ago. And they literally have hundreds up there by all kinds of authors, from books that are classics to books of today. And so you're going to want to go there. You're going to want to read everything you can, and it's important that you do this to see how professionals write. And you're going to notice that not everybody writes or even formats exactly the same. So what I was saying in step 1, do it exactly like Dark Horse says, that you'll find that not everybody does it exactly like that. But the key thing aside from formatting is you will see just what people include in their scripts, like the voice, as they say, that authors have, where what makes you unique in the way you tell a story, that can be read and seen in the way that you see these big time writers, how they put it, on the page. So I myself started out writing screenplays, and so my writing is still very much audio oriented, and so my brain still writes with a soundtrack involved. And and also in sort of a screenplay format. And you'll see that there are other writers that do a very similar thing, where you can tell that they sort of are a mixed breed. And luckily, I was primarily writing action sequences and storyboards, just like so. It wasn't that hard of a transition for me to translate shot by shot or motion by motion into a panel by panel sequence of events like comics are. But the key thing is like almost the in between, like what they, you'll notice that it's not always just step by step, like this person does this action. You'll see that in the writing, people explain like how a character is feeling, and that the artist is the one who has to take that and sort of, writers don't always express it as the person smiles as if they are, happy or whatever. Instead, they say a false smile, gives a grin of delight as they, are doing something evil or something, and indicates like by context how the character is supposed to be feeling, and sort of how they can express that in their own way of like the actions that are going about it. But there's a lot that the artist will take and play around with, and seeing how much is specific and what is vague is, to me, one of the more interesting aspects of reading all these comic scripts from all these different authors. Step 3 is what I call reverse engineering the best. I was taught to do this with a different medium, designing websites, but it works exactly the same with writing comics. What you do is you sit down and you write the script for your favorite comics as you read them. So you literally take your book, whatever it is, open it up, open it to the first page, and on handwritten or in your computer or typewriter or whatever, you then write page 1, panel 1, and you write down what you see in the panel that you're reading, and you write it in the formatting that you learned from Dark Horse. And you do that for the whole book, or at least the first issue, to get a handle on what the process is like. You'll then reread your script and mimic the pacing. Okay? And then sort of as a step 4 is you'll essentially start from 0 after you've done all these things, and you're going to want to loosely fill in the blanks with your own content. And what I mean is like this. So if in the same way that you copied, page by page, panel by panel, like your favorite book, you're then going to take like all the key aspects of that script that you just wrote and sort of erase all the characters and all that stuff, and you're going to try to mimic in the same almost panel by panel format a story. It could be on the fly. It doesn't even have to. It can be just like almost completely 100% like made up. It's not exactly to the line of bubbles exact, but it's more along the lines of if the first page has 4 panels, your first page is going to have four panels. If the first sequence follows a villain's backstory, you're going to do the same thing. If the whole issue has 6 sequences of 3 to 4 pages or whatever, your issue is going to do the same thing. If it had a splash page at the end or the middle, yours will too. The point is to take your own story, but pace it out and design it visually and with the same overall step-by-step feel as a professional comic script would. And it doesn't have to be, like I was saying, exactly the same. It doesn't have the same amount of characters or the same amount of bubbles of dialogue. It's not like that. It's just that what you're doing is you're studying almost exactly word for word what one story is like and trying to mimic it. But you're not copying story. The story doesn't matter. What you're copying is like formatting, visual design, pacing techniques. It's just like films. So like all professional grade movies have special techniques that are used over and over again by pros that are out there studying it and looking for it. It's like what you are looking at as you're learning from in school, from mise en scène or whatever. This is, you're in films. It's things like color grading and understanding when a film is primarily done with, a gradient of just two colors. It's lighting techniques, when to use shadow. It's scene transitions. It's framing techniques. It's like using crane shots, drone shots, overhead shots. It's hard cuts, fades, slow zooms, vertigo. It's when a close up of a character's eyes or mouth. It's cutting from a loud shot at the end of one scene with a loud different noise that's a transition of another scene. These kinds of things that are, you know, we notice all the time, like, oh, it's that kind of trope. Comics do the same thing, and they're not gimmicks. These are they're elements of storytelling that you may not notice as a casual viewer, but now as someone that's trying to write these things, you need to study them and realize what they are and try to use them in your own content. And that's what you're doing whenever you're detailed looking at every step of the way of a comic book that you like. You're seeing what works, and you're realizing, like, oh, the reason I like this is because of this specific thing, the way they framed things in the panel. That it's you're looking up at a character, or it's an overhead. Because comics have like this. They have, things that are common all the time, from blended panels, overhead views, double page spreads, splash pages, a voyeur point of view. All these kinds of things are what you're looking out for as you do this. And you're going to write these things down. And to me, the whole point of that is that's what I mean by back engineering step by step the comics. Is like you're literally going to, if you have a story of a certain genre, of a certain kind of thing, read the books that are similar, and then sort of pace it out in the same format that with what works. If it's like I was saying, like down to the whole, like, how many sequences take place in the first issue. Does the opening follow the hero, or does it follow the villain? Does it end on a cliffhanger that is, a B story character or a main character? How much is used as far as narration, and all that kind of stuff. That's what you're looking out for. And in order to do that, you have to go line by line. You're not going to see it just reading it. You have to step by step and write it out. And it's on that second read and that of your view of the script that you wrote based upon the book that you're reading. When you finally start to, things start to make sense and the puzzle comes together. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing or too vague, and that was helpful for everybody. And if it was, let me know in the comments, or if you want to know more. And if you want to read any of my stuff, like I said in the beginning, you can go to hovencrow.com. The link is in the description, and all the info's there. All right, thanks everybody. See ya.